sitting listening to us. Who is that? It's the Nerd for No Reason podcast. Hi, I'm Raven. I'm one of your hosts.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mark, and hold on to your spider monkeys, because we're about to get wild.
Man, what a good break you just had there. I was
you
like,
know, you
did
gotta
I lose
build,
him?
You got to build up that anticipation.
Yeah. What's up, man? How's it going? What you up
Oh,
to?
man. Busy.
You know. Never heard of
Dude,
that.
it's just been... Alice has been sick at the beginning of the week. Last weekend, I can't remember if I told you this, but last weekend I took her to the doctor on Monday. She was still complaining about being sick, so I took her to another doctor, and, you know, it's just trying to explain to a 15-year-old, like, listen, you got to give it time. And she's like, man, but I don't feel good. I'm like, I know. So,
Aw,
that,
poor baby.
and then it's just been like, the work's been just getting on my nerves. Like, I've lost my temper a couple times at work because people keep asking me stupid questions that I've already answered, or I tell them that I don't, like, it's out of my realm of responsibility and knowledge. And then I ended up getting frustrated at someone else because they wanted something. They wanted something that I had that I didn't know if I was supposed to have or not. Like, basically, like, draft plans to, like, build something, you know? So it's kind of not official. It's, like, very, very early preliminary type stuff. And I just, you know, I just had it in my desk because I'm a hoarder like that when it comes to stuff. And I'm thinking that, like that they are looking for, like, a part number or something. I'm not real sure. And then I find out, like, they're wanting to analyze this. And I'm like, stop. That's already been taken care of. You don't need to do that. And they keep kind of pressing, like, no, we need to look at this. We do it. Like, no, you don't. No, you don't.
You're like, this isn't real yet. Thank you.
That's not what this is for. This has already been reviewed and submitted to the proper people. You need to go to the proper people and get it. Do not get this from me. And they keep talking about how they got to review it. And I'm like, and I'm getting more and more frustrated. And I'm like, stop. And then one of the program managers is like, why are you getting so upset? And I'm like, because
these people are dipshits.
Well, then he explains to me, like, hey, we discovered a security flaw in the new version of this, and we want to see if it's in the old version. I said, that's different. That's not, hey, we need to review this because we need to put it out in the field. No, now I know what you're trying to do. Here's the information, you know, and it's a little bit of a different thing when you explain it like that. Like, okay, I see
absolutely.
the bigger scope, but no one was saying that. It's like they were wanting to use it for official purposes, and I'm like, no. This is not official. So, yeah.
Dang. Chris, comes home and tells me about things that, like, happens at his job where, like, managers don't know jack shit about some of the things that they should, for literally anything. He told one of, like, it was probably some young kid, to be honest, that's probably, like, maybe my age, but even at my age, this kid should have known, but he was literally like, okay, power off the computer. And the kid was like, just stood there and was like, okay. And he was like, I'm not seeing that it's powered off or anything. He was like, oh, I don't actually know how to do that. Like, power off a computer. And Chris went ballistic. So, yeah, you should definitely, like, check notes with your brother sometimes and be like, so what's the most stupid shit that you've come across this week?
Dude, corporate America is such a wild animal.
I could
never.
It
is so weird. And I work in not even like what I consider a conventional office environment. Like, on paper it kind of does, but, you know, the kind of work we do is very we work in, as dumb as this sounds, we work in a very high paced office. It's very busy all the time, you
Mm.
know, and we have to have a lot of people stay on their toes and have a lot of knowledge. Like, we have a lot of people who, if you get us together, we could tear apart an airplane and put it back together in like 2 days. We have a lot of knowledge. And we work with a lot of people who have zero knowledge. And we're trying to explain to them, like, no, that's not how that thing works. They're like, yeah, it is, because we did it that way once. And I'm like, that's not how it works, my dude.
Oh,
And trying to explain why we should do something the way we do it, because the people who are turning wrenches are gonna like come out and wring our necks if we do it the other way. We're like, no, that's not how you do it. You know, it's weird, man. It's weird. I deal with all kinds of personalities. Like, Office Space is not far from the truth. And yeah, it's
yeah.
weird, dude. And here I am off on my little island with my friends who are not on my island. Like, we all kind of hang out together, and that's great. But I'm clearly off on Weird Nerd Island by myself. With my 3D printed stuff and my Comic Con stories and everything else. And I have guys that want to come and they want to come and do the stuff with me, and that's good. And I want to come and go and do the stuff with them, and that's super fun. But I have some people who look at me like, a comic convention?
You're like, this
Really?
fucking guy.
Right. I got into this conversation because Dragon Con's this weekend, which, if you
Yeah.
don't know, largest convention in the Southeast. I speed ran it last year, and it was a blast. But that's this weekend. And I was talking to somebody like, man, I wish I could go. I didn't get tickets, and they're already sold out for Saturday. And he was like, a comic convention? And I'm like, yeah, a comic convention. Like, it's great. It's super fun, man. It's a good time. And he was like, that's, and I can't remember if he just outright said it, but it was very much of like, that's dumb and that's for nerds, was very much the vibe I was getting. And then he talked about some convention he's going to,
Bro, that's always the worst.
and I was just like, just because yours is a different kind of convention doesn't mean that it's just not as nerdy.
Right. I mean, this week, my boss and then like two of the employees are going to a dog grooming convention in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And like, if I were to be like, oh, I'm doing this, like, would people be like, that's weird. Why would you do something like that? Don't you already know how to groom? But it's like, you can like experience so much cool stuff at like any type of convention. Let's be real. Like, conventions in themselves are just kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
Because they did like, they have a Halloween convention that they do here in Knoxville. We went to it last year. And then when it happened this year, I had already had the tickets to go see Cage the Elephant. So like, we totally missed out on that. And I was so distraught because I was like, fuck, I've been waiting a whole year for this thing. But like, some people are like, oh, you like Halloween year round? And it's like, yeah, I do. You should see my house. There's just a bunch of Halloween shit everywhere. That and plants and dog hair. But that guy's lame. You shouldn't talk to that guy anymore.
Well,
I don't care if you need to talk to that guy, just don't talk to him.
Well, it's just weird because I'm like, dude, like, it's a good time. Like, you know what I've never seen at a comic book convention? A fight, ever. You got 5,000 people in one location. I've never seen anyone go, "Oh man, what the fuck?" Never seen that.
I think it'd be hilarious though.
I mean,
I feel like it'd be like the One Piece people trying to be like beefing with like another anime, trying to be like, who's the better anime? And then you just have all these people in like character trying to be like, punch, 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 kick, kick, pew, 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 and like the stupidest shit going on. I think it'd be hilarious, honestly.
I
I
think
want
it
to
would
see
too.
that.
Well, I want to say real quick. I want to say this one story before we move on. that my favorite part of Dragon Con last year was towards the end of my day. I've been walking around all day. I was super tired, and I was like, I'm going to make one more trip through these 3 convention hotels that are connected. I can't remember which ones they are right now. But if you know, you know. And I started at one, and as I go through to the other, there is kind of like this rooftop, for the lack of better words, this rooftop area that is where they have like a DJ spinning, and a lot of people gather like on some steps out there to take group pictures. So there'll be like, 100 Mandalorians out there all posed up taking pictures. And it's a really just kind of a good vibe out there. So I walk out there where the DJ was playing, and there's some people dancing, and they're go, 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 go. And I walk out there, and there is this lady, this lady dressed as Frodo Baggins.
Hell yeah.
And she was throwing it back into this dude who was dressed like Bishop from the X-Men. And I was like, this is the greatest day of my life. I was watching Bilbo Baggins throw it back. And she was getting it too. It was such a fun sight. And I was like, if there is one thing that I think like solidifies the enjoyment of Dragon Con, is that story right there. Where it's like, you never know what you're going to see. You might see a hobbit throwing it back to rap, out there dancing. It was a blast.
I love that. God. That sounds great.
So, speaking of nerdy things and all things fun, Sonic 3 dropped a trailer this week, and I'm not gonna lie, looks super fun.
It does look fun. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I did already previously tell Mark that I have not watched the first or the second. And he goes, okay, I guess we're just going to sit on that now since we're doing Twilight.
Yeah, we're going to, yeah.
A little upsetty spaghetti at me.
Once Sonic 3 gets closer, we will absolutely do Sonic 1 and 2 leading up to Sonic 3 so we can watch that because, yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Okay. It's not that I don't want to watch it. I've just, I don't know what it was, but, I've just never had the time where I guess Chris would have been watching it that I would have watched it. And it's not, a movie that I would probably just, watch on my own just to be like, oh, let's put this on. I'm very much more of, I'm going to throw on some, horror thriller movie if I'm just watching something by myself. Or a freaking Lifetime movie. I've been watching a lot of those lately. They're just on Hulu or something. And I just keep watching them. And they're so awful. And I love it.
Well, it's not Christmas time yet.
No, I'm watching all the oh my God, she slept with my man and now we gotta kill her. Or, crazy teacher abducts child and one of his students. That's the last one I watched.
We're going to have to set out some time and do a Tubi movie month. Because Tubi is just,
yeah.
Ooh, boy.
There's some good stuff on there.
Yeah. But Sonic 3 got the old Keanu Reeves in it, and that looks like it could be super fun. I was kind of surprised that they might have already been filming at this point, but James Marsden kind of caught a little bit of heat last year, or earlier this year, maybe, with kind of being one of those people in the Quiet on Set documentary where he wrote a letter supporting the guy who was basically molesting and raping Drake Bell. And he caught a lot of heat for that. And I don't know. He never came out and said anything. And I thought for sure, I was like, man, this dude's not going to be in the new Sonic movie of all things. And sure enough, he's in there. So, but he wasn't in the last one a whole lot. So they might have him essentially like a glorified cameo. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, you got anything
No,
else?
no, man, I'm ready. I'm ready to get this party started.
Well,
I'm
let's
ready.
do it. We are talking the first Twilight movie from 2008 with my main
Why?
man, Robert Pattinson, and homegirl, Kristen Stewart. What's good?
We have been teasing this all year long because we set out at the beginning of the year we're going to do two movie series, Fast and Furious and the Twilight series, and uh, Fast and Furious was my pick. Twilight was Raven's pick because I have not seen any of them but the first one. So I I am absolutely ready to jump into this film series. I think this is going to be a super fun time, and I have some big thoughts on this movie watching it 15 years after its
Oh, I'm
release.
sure. Yeah. No, I also had Chris watch it. I think this was like his second time watching it, but he's never seen any of the other movies. And he was like, I'll watch it with you. We'll see how it goes, even if I can just like laugh at it. And I'm like, no, there's definitely stuff you can laugh at in this movie. And I love it. So, Mark, I've seen this movie plenty of times. Tell me your thoughts.
Okay, this is my second time seeing this movie ever. Um, this movie is so 2008, it is almost scary. Um, it's not bad. I mean, we've watched some movies in here, like even recent movies, that we're like, man, this movie is absolutely horrible. But this movie's not bad. And as the father of teenage girls, I kind of get it. But also at the same time, like it is corny,
Oh, yeah.
super corny. There is legit. The acting in this is it's so
Ooh.
wild to me to see where our two leads are at now. That Robert Pattinson is Batman and Kristen Stewart is like this indie darling now, and they've both gone on to have like different but successful, you know, they're not super A-list actors, but they're both very successful actors. And this was like the thing that shot them to prominence. It's weird. Not bad. We'll get into the particulars of it in a little bit, but you know, and it's also weird to me that out of the side characters, Anna Kendrick is the biggest star to come out of this
Dude,
movie.
for real. Yeah. When we were watching it, I was like, oh, yeah, because I could not think of Anna Kendrick's name. I was like, I see it in my head, but I like couldn't do it. And then I was like, oh, what's her name is like in it because there's this video game that I've been playing. It's called Class of '09. It's a weird game. But he was like, oh, is this Jekka from that video game? And I was like, no, homegirl from Pitch Perfect is. And he was like, who? And then he sees her and he was like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah.
Because like her acting in it is like so funny.
All right, Raven, what did you think of watching The Twilight?
This is actually the second time this year that I've watched the first Twilight movie. Um, so obviously I'm a fan. I definitely get that there are like parts of this movie that I like watch it and I'm like, this is so funny that like middle school and high school me was like, yo, this shit is bussin'. Like, when it first came out, my mom was definitely a little more reserved about me watching it. But eventually, like, her and I watched the first one together. And then after that, we saw Eclipse and then both of the Breaking Dawns, like, premiere nights when it was, like, the thing to do at, like, Thursday night at midnight type thing. Like, I love the movies. I love the characters. Sure, like you said, the acting is it's a little funny, especially when you remember that like Robert Pattinson has an English accent and then you hear him like trying to do his American accent, but it's definitely like one of the first roles of him really having to do that. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
just so funny to listen to. But yes, let's dive into this movie, shall we?
Yes, let's go. I want to say right from the jump, before like anything else is said, um, the young lady who plays Alice in this movie, Ashley Greene,
Love her.
incredible. Incredible. She's beautiful. She's talented. I am more upset about anything that she is not a superstar right now. She is my favorite person in this movie. I obsessed about her when this movie comes out, and watching it again, I was like, man, she
For
is
real.
beautiful. That's all I'm going to say. And I am not going to sit here the entire movie and be like, vampires sparkle. This is nonsense. I have a few vampire lore things, but I'm not going to hop on the sparkling vampire thing.
Ooh.
Because, one, it's played out, and two, as the adage goes, how do you kill a vampire? Any damn way you want to, because they don't exist. So, I'm not going to harp too much on the sparkling vampires. It's for their audience. Okay, I've got that out of the way. Raven, go ahead.
Well, I don't know where you necessarily want to start out, but like I every time I like hear the opening scene where she's like, I've never really thought about my death and like stuff like that. It always cracks me up so much because like she was so young when they were like filming these movies. Taylor Lautner was literally like 15 in this movie.
Yeah.
So like everyone's babies and it's just like so funny. But like I really like sit here now and I'm like, wow, I'm really jealous that like she was able to go from like one type of climate to a different type of climate and just be like, whatever, my dad's pretty chill, which I freaking love Charlie so much. Oh my
Dude,
gosh.
Charlie is trying his best with Bella. He is trying so hard. And like I get it. Again, father of father of a teenage girl. Um like I genuinely get it. This is a dad who just really wants to connect with his teenage daughter, who he probably hasn't seen in a couple years. Probably just talks to her on the phone. Hey, how's it going? She's a teenager, just stays in her room all the time. Don't know what that's like. Um, so he wants to do good by her, and she doesn't see that yet. And he's like, yeah, go out and do stuff. And she's like, no, we'll hang out with Edward. And it's just a thing. And you're right, the voiceover at the beginning
Oh my gosh.
was killing me because it is just sounds so emo.
I love it so
Like
much.
this movie might as well have been playing Evanescence underneath of it. But it had some other emo hits.
Oh, you know it did.
Yes. So
I also really enjoy seeing Babyface Jacob, where he like, you just look at him and you're like, oh, you do look like a baby. Like he's got like those like kind of little chubby cheeks, and then like when you get into the next movie, you're like, what the fuck?
right. And
But
we're gonna talk a little bit about how he secured his job for the next movie
yeah,
next week. But it was for sure like seeing him with like the long hair and just kind of real baby face and stuff. I'm like, man, dude, like who was this infant
he
playing
was so
Jacob?
cute. Ugh. I actually had a cardboard cutout of Jacob from the New Moon movie. My aunt
Oh,
sent it to me
shut
for
your
Christmas
mouth.
one year. I literally like got this huge, because those things are huge, and so like it came in the or mail truck person like had to just like drop it off on our porch because it's massive. And I like come home and I'm like, what the heck is this thing? And then my mom was like, you can go ahead and open it if you want. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a Jacob of my own. Yeah, it was wild. Um, but yeah, when she like first, when she like first meets Jacob again, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Jacob." She's like, "Yeah, I know. We used to make mud pies." And then he's like, "Yeah, I totally rebuilt the whole engine of this truck and blah blah blah." And then she like goes to get in and then like hits him with the door. It's so funny. There's just like so many like slightly cringy things that happen in this movie, and it cracks me up. And one of the things that Chris was like, wait a second, he's over there talking to her about the clutch and stuff, which makes me think that she doesn't know how to drive a stick. But then she pulls up on her first day just like normal. And I was like, hey man, you don't know. Maybe it's been a while since she's driven stick, even though she's like 17.
The kids in the school, we got to talk about these wild ass kids.
Hell yeah.
This was clearly these kids are clearly like they've known each other since their entire lives because they're really comfortable around each other. And then Bella shows up, and I could tell on that first day, because even I was getting the sense like it is sensory overload. Everyone's like, oh crap, new kid. Oh my God. Hey, what's up? And then this one person just runs up and randomly kisses her on the cheek. And I would be like, nope, that's it. Send me back to Phoenix, dude. I'm not doing this. This is too much.
Yeah. As like, she's very much like, very on her own, and she like, you don't get that vibe of her being like crazy out there. She's very much an introvert and that type of stuff. And everyone's like hugging up on her and like, what's up, new girl? So, you're pretty hot. Anyways, like Anna Kendrick being like, oh, it's like kindergarten and you're the shiny new toy. That was very much, yes, that was such a good line for that because, yeah, absolutely. And then you meet
Cullens. Go ahead.
Or do you have something else about these rambunctious kids?
I have something else before we get into the vampire of the whole thing. So I was watching this and thinking about Forks, Washington, because this is so I went and looked up like how big is Forks, Washington. Forks, Washington is a city in Washington State, obviously, even though the movie was filmed in Oregon. Forks, Washington has a population currently of about 3,300 people, 3,300 people. That's it. At its peak a couple years ago, pre-COVID, like right before COVID hit, just under 4,000.
Dang.
To put that into perspective, my city that I live in, here in Georgia, which is, I think, kind of a decent size, but not really like a huge city, has 82,000 people in it.
Gross.
So yeah. I mean, and we got 5 high schools in our county, each one with a graduating class of about 300 to 400 kids apiece, So yes, to even contemplate like, oh yes, there's a town that essentially has the population of our high school, our entire high school, as the town population is unfathomable to me.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's crazy. But like, my graduating class was 40 people, so I went to a tiny school, but I get it. Like, you get so close to like everyone in your grade, you know everyone, you basically all grew up together. I get the vibe of like the school that she was going into. Mm-hmm. So I can't imagine being the person to be like, yo, what is this?
Right. And especially she's coming from a place like Phoenix.
Yeah.
Which is a
she
big
was in
city.
A huge school.
Yes.
Crazy.
So, all right, let's go ahead. Who do we meet next, Raven?
We meet the Cullens. Who's that? Well, let me tell you about all the family couples we got coming in here. Dude, Anna Kendrick's character is like so salty. She's like, yeah, I'm not good enough for him, but like, I don't care. It's whatever. And then you just see Edward like smile and he's like, hee hee, you guys are so silly. Who the fuck is this chick? Yeah,
Edward doesn't smile. He smiles one time in this whole movie.
yeah, and
I
his
actually had to make a
smiles
note.
are like very, like he might do like the tiniest like reserved smile of like almost more of like a, I don't know. I was gonna say like a grimace or something like that, but you know, he's supposed to look uncomfortable in the whole movie. And the whole time Chris and I were watching it, he was like asking me so many questions about like, I don't understand why it's like this, or do they explain this? And I was like, don't worry, buddy. I'll make sure you get all the info. I was like, he has to look uncomfortable because of the smell of her and that he wants her, but he doesn't want to eat her. Anyways, but yeah, seeing them sit at that table and the first scene is like
They're
iconic.
all slow motion.
Oh my gosh. And they're just like, what's up? It's me and my girlfriend because we're not biologically related and our cool doctor adoptive dad is just cool with it.
Right.
What's up? Which can you
So-
imagine? Like,
Go ahead.
like, can you just imagine? Like, Alice tells you, oh yeah, some family just moved in. They've got a bunch of adoptive kids, but they're all like hooking up together. What would you like? I don't even know what I would think.
I would be like, you are absolutely not hanging out with that family.
Don't you even ask to have a sleepover.
Right. You're not going over there. I don't care. They're not coming over here. Like, no. That's no.
Insanity. I love it.
Oh, I was going to ask a question before you brought up that
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
they were all sleeping together. It might have been related to that. I don't even know.
Fair enough.
And it is weird that they, you know what?
That
I
they're
think
so
I know what.
open with it.
Yeah, and in kind of retrospect, and we'll touch on this way like in a couple weeks, especially with like probably the last movie, because I'm not sure how the movies break up the last book. Because I've listened to the books, I've listened to the audiobooks, so I know what's supposed to happen in the story.
Yeah.
And I've always said that if the author Stephanie Meyer would have said, like, laid out the things that happened in the last book, if she would have said those in the first book or the first movie, this whole franchise would have flopped because it gets wild. And I feel like this might be kind of the thing where, like, after reading the last book and now seeing that, like, oh yeah, they're adoptive, but they're still dating and smooching on each other and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that kind of tracks with like some of the weird stuff we get into in the later books.
Yeah.
This is actually probably the most tame thing that happens. So, yeah. Weird. So.
It'd be like that.
I'm trying to think. They do science class. He can't deal with her because she stinks so bad. And then she's gone. And then he says something about her stinking. He finally comes back to class and stops a truck. And Bella catches the vapors. Oh, boy. That was it. That was the thing. He saved his life, and you could see her whole mood change.
Well, like, if you think that like some guy is like that you're like, yo, he's pretty fine, but for some reason he does not like the smell of me, even though nobody else has ever been like, yo, girl, you smell funky. I would get it. I would be like, I don't know if I fuck with this guy. Like, is he for real right now? What are we doing here? But yeah. And then he becomes like interrogation central. He's like asking her the most random, like personal questions, like the way that when they get out of the first class, that like they actually like talk to each other, and he's like, why didn't you move to Jacksonville with your stepdad and your mom? And like the way he just asks is like so insanely like, I don't know. It's giving cop vibe.
They both are so absurdly awkward in
Yes,
this movie.
absolutely.
And I actually have it in my notes that now that I watch this, like seeing Kristen Stewart be this awkward teenager, and Robert Pattinson being this awkward teenager, like that's what they're supposed to be, and they play it too good. Which is also
Yeah.
why I'm so shocked that both of them have careers after this and they didn't get typecasted, because they play it so good that someone like me who was late 20s when this movie came out, I was well past like the target age for this. There was nothing for me even to be like, oh well, my girlfriend likes it or anything. There was nothing for me to latch on with when these movies came out.
Yeah.
So watching it that way, I was like, man, this is horrible. It's exactly what it was supposed to be.
Yeah. No, it's something to make you like a little cringy because you're like, when you actually like look at all four of the books together, it's only like 2 to 3 years, I think. So it
Yeah.
all moves so fast. But when you watch it in the movies, you don't think it's as fast as it is. But it's just like, yo, she literally met him and was like, I am so in love with you. If you literally ever leave me, I'm gonna kill myself.
Yeah.
Ma'am, which is very much like kind of a high school thing to be like, because you're like, my life is over if I don't get exactly what I want in life. What am I gonna do? You know?
Well, I kind of want to ask you this because I imagine when this movie came out, you were probably around the target demographic
I was
age.
in middle school. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you were right there.
Mm-hmm.
So now having my kids, I could legitimately see both of them coming to me after they done fall in love with some dude and be like, oh, he's a vampire. He's going to turn me into a vampire and we're going to live forever. I can never see you again, Dad, but I love him. And I'd be like, no, you're an idiot. You're grounded for life. So it's weird. Like I kind of get it now, and that's what makes it so much more weird. I don't like it, but I see
Yeah.
it now, and I'm like, oh no,
Dude,
oh no.
that's the one thing that I'm like glad that I will never be a parent and like have to worry about like, especially like girls because they're so dramatic, and the fact that they're like, but I love him, and you're like, bro, he's literally like a little rat that lives in
Oh,
his mom's basement. It's fine.
another thing, I should have said this at the beginning too. Another thing we're not going to talk about is the age difference. We get it. He's like 100 and she's like 16, 17. Not
How
going to talk
long have
about
you been
that.
17? A while.
Yeah, a while, 100 years.
I love it. I don't
Shut
care
up.
about it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just
We're
don't.
we're not going to talk about that. We all know it's problematic in theory. Not talking about it. The uh, uh, Edward.
Words.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Well, I'm just kind of looking through my notes. I'm kind of don't know where to pick up because there's a lot that happens in this movie. I mean, like,
Oh yeah, my notes are
Yeah,
I know it's surprising.
like even though like I take notes chronologically as the film goes along, like looking at him now is just like Dr. Cullen comes in and this dude has charisma for days. Like I literally wrote he's just
Uh,
slanging that Riz around. Uh,
Carlisle definitely, like, if this had come out during this time period where kids say Riz, like, they would be like, Carlisle has all the fucking Riz in the world.
he
And
does.
oh my gosh. But, like, yeah, he's wild. And I love him so much. He's, like, so charming and charismatic. And he's just, like, very welcoming. And you're just like, oh, you're perfect to be a doctor. Like, that's what you want in a doctor. But, like, also just like as a new person that recently moved here and everyone for whatever reason is like, you and your whole fucking family are freaks because you let your kids date. But whatever.
Yeah,
But
that would. Well, I
yeah,
mean, it's in Washington State. There's never mind. I'm not going to say that. He could have done that in Georgia because I think people would have been talking too much about it. Did you hear about the Cullens that moved in up the road? They
bro,
adopted
it'd be
all them
fine in
kids and they just.
Alabama.
What's that?
It'd be fine in Alabama. You
Dear Alabama listeners, we're sorry in advance. We know not everyone's like that. Y'all have
Roll
places like
Tide.
Birmingham where you don't do that. Did you see the part of the movie? I genuinely laughed out loud at this. They did the proto version of the Thor meme where Bella's looking at the Cullens and all of a sudden that one boy just kind of pokes his head in. He's like, "Hey," and it's like Thor does in whatever the new Thor, Love and Thunder, where Chris Pratt is looking at the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor pops his head in, like, "Hey, look at me." It was the exact same thing, and it cracked me up so hard, and it
That's so
shouldn't have
funny.
had. Let's see.
It's
Go
so
ahead.
weird how literally like Edward goes from like, oh my god, this girl, like, I gotta get away from her, to then being super relatively nice but interrogating. And then like he saves her and starts gaslighting the hell out of Bella. And he's like, you hit your head. I was literally right next to you. And she's like, the fuck you were. And then they go on like that trip and he is like such a dick. But they're both like, should we be friends? But we also like really want to be together. To then like, so anyways, this is Bella, and my family's embarrassing me because they made you food, but like she already ate, and now Rosalie's throwing a tantrum. Whatever. Let's go. I love all the scenes in like the woods though. Like when he goes up to his bedroom and she's like, "Yo, this is fucking cool," and he's like, "Anyways, I'm gonna jump out the window now. You trust me?" And they just start climbing trees. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is weird. Like it's the weird 2008 effects of it all, where he's running with her on his back, and it just looks weird and awkward, and
I
I
love it so much.
it's cheesy. I like it. It's kind of cheesy, like to the point where I'm like, okay, this is funny. Um, I want to talk about it. We have to talk about the sparkleness of it all. When
Okay.
he pulls her all the way up to the top of the mountain and he walks in the singular ray of sunshine that we see in this entire gray movie. Um,
Yeah.
as a middle schooler, when you first saw this, what did you think? Because vampires are one of my absolute favorite like monsters.
Same.
So when this came out and they were sparkly, I was like, "Oh no, we have us a problem."
Um,
So
yeah, because like I've already stated this before, but like Bela Lugosi as Dracula, like, was very iconic for me. I loved vampires growing up, and then to see them kind of be in like a different aspect, I was like, I guess because I was in middle school, I was just like, yeah, whatever. Like, who says that like the reason that they can't go in sunlight is because they can't just sparkle? Sure, maybe they can bust into flames, but like, whatever. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a fun take on like something different. And actually, the like scene where they like lay in the meadow is like essentially where Stephanie Meyer like started the whole book. She literally woke up from a dream and had this dream that they were like of whatever was going on, and then it ended in that little meadow area, and she was like, I gotta write this stuff down. And like wasn't even planning on writing a book, but like somehow it all just like came to, which is like an interesting little thing to think about.
Hmm.
Yeah. But
Well,
the way, it's funny you bring up that like scene, but the way that she like literally pulls up to school, walks past him, and he just follows her, and the two of them just walk off like y'all aren't even going to class, and people are outside. What do they think they're doing?
right. There's a
There's a lot that you're like, what? What? You telling me that none of these kids are going, hey, Officer Schwan, you need to know something.
yeah. In a town of 3,300 people,
For real.
absolutely they're doing that.
Absolutely. You know they talk all that shit.
Oh yeah, no. The Officer Swan, Charlie would have known the second Bella stepped foot off of that campus with Edward Cullen. Like we saw her, but then she left with that Cullen boy, and they haven't been back all day. And he would be sitting there at the house waiting for her.
Right? Like the teachers would essentially probably have him on speed dial
Oh
to be
yeah.
like, yo, what's up, Charlie? Let me tell you the scoop. Wild. And then I think this was like the first time that I realized, but the baseball scene happens, and then she was like, oh, I was hanging out with Edward after school or something, or like there was something. Oh, it's when they went over to dinner at his place, and then she was like, oh, sorry, I was doing schoolwork. And I'm like, what? The time realm of like light to just pitch black is insane for this movie, because it will
Oh,
literally
yeah.
be fine. It's like daytime, and then like not even 30 minutes later, you're like, where'd the sun go?
Well, the same thing happened when she was trying dresses on with Anna Kendrick
Yeah.
and the other girl. It was like it was dark. First off, this scene, I was mad then, and I'm still mad now. You say, "Hey, can I go with you guys to try on dresses and stuff?" And you're going to go, and you're just going to sit in the corner and mope. And everyone's like, "Oh my god, look at this dress! Oh, so cool!" Like, if you're there for ulterior motives because you want to go to this bookstore, like at least play with your friends. Like, oh yeah, cool. No, it's a cute dress. Hey, when we get done here, let's go to this bookstore because I got a book I want. Cool, but don't just sit there. Like she looked miserable.
Yeah, no.
And then she
Like Anna
ditches-
Kendrick calls her out, and she's like, you've literally said that about the last 5 dresses I've tried on. And she's just like, sorry, I'm not really into this. Even though the other girl was like, I really need your opinion on dresses. And like, I wanted to like shake her and be like, do you see the shit she wears? You don't need her opinion.
Well, to be fair, there's only like 6 girls in this entire school. Apparently, it's Anna
Feels like it,
Kendrick,
yeah.
Bella, the Asian girl that I can't remember her name. Angela, the 3 immortal vampires, and that's it. I genuinely can't think of any other females that I saw in the school.
There's only 2 female vampires, actually. So, like, even more fucked up.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what
guess
you're
there
talking
is.
about. They played volleyball with all the girls.
Oh, that's right. Yep. All right, so 10. enough to make up a volleyball team.
True.
Um,
Do you want to talk about the baseball scene?
oh yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's
we can.
iconic. It's so good. I don't care. I still love it. Anytime it ever pops up on any of my social media feeds, I will absolutely watch it and still just be like, this was such a good fucking scene.
So here's how uh, I have this written in my notes.
Please.
This damn baseball scene, the music, just all of it is killing me. How late 2000 it is.
It's so
It
good.
Yeah, it is. If I was to distill, like, because Alice will ask me questions like what was it like in 2008? Next time I'm just going to show this baseball scene and be like, this is what every teenage movie was like at the time.
And girls loved it. They ate it up breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This was the only time they wanted to watch baseball.
Before Taylor Swift started dating Jason Kelsey, this is how we got women interested in sports.
Dude.
No, in all fairness, this was kind of a cool scene. Um, this was very clever. I thought, like, even in the books, this was kind of a very clever way to be like, yeah, we like to do like kind of normal stuff, but we have to wait for the thunderstorm and do this and all of that. And it was kind of fun seeing like yeah, I kind of want to see like a super powered baseball game or a football,
Yeah.
like a sports something, because I think that would genuinely be kind of fun. And this was a fun scene.
Yeah, it really is. Chris actually told me, he was like, oh, I thought that they just did it because they thought it was cooler to do when it's like about to thunder and like stuff. And I was like, what? The fact that vampires would just be like, yo, you want to see something cool?
We're gonna go
But
play
then,
baseball.
oh God. But then they fully meet like James, Victoria, Laurent, and they're like, oh shit. And Edward the whole time is looking at James, and James is looking at Edward and Bella, and he's like, yo, this is gonna be the best game that I ever play here.
I'm about to eat that. Don't you worry about it.
Yo, let me get that sniff real good. God.
What's another part about this movie that genuinely cracked me up? And this is a trope in just about all vampire movies, was whenever you get a vampire upset, they have to hiss at you like a cat. So when James, is that the tracker's name? I just had him
Yes.
as the tracker. When he's like, oh, you brought a snack, and they all push Bella to the back, and they start hissing at him.
Yeah.
And I started laughing because I started thinking of a Key and Peele skit that they did where one of them, either Key or Peele, I can't remember which one, was a leader of a vampire group, and he's doing all like the stereotypical vampire things. He's hissing, and they're all wearing leather, and they're all
Yeah.
doing this and all this. And then they bring some guy in who's like a recently turned vampire or whatever. He's like, do we have to dress like this? And then someone else is like, I hate hissing. I hate this techno music we play. Like, can we, if we're going to live forever, like, I don't even like this lady that I'm kissing right here. That's the first thing that popped in my brain, was like, yeah, do they have to, like, if they're not going to burst into flames in the sun, do they have to live in, Forks,
Yeah.
Washington?
It really is funny that, like, for whatever reason, vampires are supposed to hiss. Because, like, when I watch What We Do in the Shadows,
Yes.
they'll have, like, little hiss-offs, and I'm like, it just cracks me up. Anytime I ever see any kind of vampire anything do that, I'm just like, what? Like, who started this? Why is this a thing?
It is weird.
But it's so funny, though. I love that it continues to go. Like, most people aren't just going to be like, no, let's not do it. We got to keep it up, guys. All right, whatever. Yeah, sure. We can hiss. Can we go out in the sun? You're gonna sparkle. Uh, yeah, okay. Whatever. I
So,
really.
go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna
Go,
say, after
go ahead.
like the whole like James thing, that scene with Charlie where she has to go home and be. The scene is, of course, like insane to be like, I broke up with him and now I just have to go home even though mom's not home, but I'm gonna drive from Washington to Arizona in the middle of the night at 17 years old and you are the chief police. But I felt so sad for Charlie because he's just like, but I thought things were cool. I
Right.
still like you.
Again, Charlie's doing his best, man.
Man, yeah. Because Chris was like, I was like, no, she goes back. And it, like, just imagine that conversation of like, yeah, like, what do you say? What are you gonna say to be like, I didn't mean any of that stuff, but, can I come back? Or was she just like, I'm just gonna unacknowledge it and, move back with my dad? Yeah, no, it'll be cool. He won't mind. He probably already forgot, right? He's a man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whole time he's just sitting there cleaning his gun like, I can't believe she said that shit to me.
What? I have a lot of questions. So I don't know if they ever make it clear if I just zoned out, but was she supposed to be going back to Phoenix or to Jacksonville?
I think she like
Or was she just
told her that,
leaving?
yeah, it was kind of like, I'm gonna go. I think she did say that she was going back to Arizona, and he was like, your mom's not even there. She was like, I'll, I don't know, I'll figure something out. Like, you know, because it's sporadic teenager angst. It's like
Mm-hmm.
one of those things. And then I think he was like James was at first going to Florida because that's where they were trying to track Bella Sense to. And then he was like, fuck it, going to Arizona. My girl can figure out where anyone's from. Thanks. Which was crazy because that all happened so fast. Like, are you running faster than a freaking car? They're that fast.
It was weird.
And then Edward just like comes to the rescue. He's just like, what up? I can also run fast. And they did make sure to like hint on that even during the like baseball game where Esme's like, Edward's very fast.
Oh yeah.
uh
No.
I love this movie so much.
So the one part of this movie that I'm kind of, and I think I'm pretty sure they do this in the next couple of movies too, is in each book we get like a section of the book, like an entire chapter dedicated to the other Cullen family members. So I'm pretty sure that in the original Twilight book, it is where we learn about Alice and her past, like how she became a part of the family and why it was so important that James, this particular vampire, showed up. And I really hope I'm not messing up the lore because I haven't listened to the books in like
Right?
probably
Yeah.
like a decade or more. But they talk about her story genuinely was much more fascinating than the main story. And I remember when I got done listening to the first book, I was like, damn, that her part was so much better than Bella's part. Like, I want her story. I want a
Yeah.
separate book where it's just Alice and she goes and does the stuff, finds love and stuff. I will listen to that book. And yeah, I'm kind of upset that Alice kind of doesn't get the limelight she deserves in this movie. And I'm not just saying that because I have a crush on Ashley Greene.
I mean, I can't blame you though.
But also like later on because like oh, who is the vampire that Jackson Rathbone Jasper?
Yeah,
Um, Jasper has a very cool backstory as well
dude, he
that they
does.
explain.
Yeah,
And I don't know if they talk about it in the other movies, but when they break down when he gets his chapter in the book later on in whatever book it was, I was like, holy crap! Again, this is way better than Bella's story.
yeah. Like hearing all of their backgrounds of like why Carlisle turned them is like very interesting and stuff. And Chris was literally like, dude, why is Rosalie such a bitch? And I was like, you'll you find out in like the future movies because like they tell her backstory of like why she's like, I don't like Bella because of the choice that she's trying to make and that kind of thing. And he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, but it just kind of sucks that in like the first movie you're just like, dude, she's a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
But in reality, like her story is sad, and I understand why she's like, I hate this. I hate that you're choosing to be a vampire when I didn't choose that for myself. But yeah. I know that Jasper's story definitely gets told in the movies. It's been a while since I've watched anything past New Moon, so I
Right.
can't fully remember who all stories are in the movies. But I'm probably actually gonna listen to all the books now again. So
Yeah, me too.
I'll be caught up by book 2 when we record next week.
Okay.
Dude, I have all the time to listen to books when I'm just standing there for 8 to 10 hours a day grooming some dogs. I'd be booking it through them. Ha 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 ha.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Thank you.
Ha ha ha. I want to talk real quick about the end of the movie where Jacob shows back up and is like, "Oh, I had to come and talk to you because my dad wanted me to come and talk to you about a thing. You need to break up with Edward." And she's like, "Ha ha ha, very funny." And then Edward shows back up, and Jacob is like, "I'm gonna eat your face off, dude. Like, I don't like you. I don't know why, but Jacob was about that life, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Let's fight."
If he had already been able to, like, be a werewolf, those hackles would have been up. He would have been like, yo, I'm gonna fucking bite your face off. Yeah. It's so interesting to, like, know so much about the lore and whatnot, but to, like, rewatch it and try and imagine, like, someone seeing it for the first time and being like, what the fuck is up with all this beef? Because even when they went to La Push, Jacob was like, the Cullens don't come here. The Res is our territory. And then, like, starts telling, like, the backstory of how there's, like, a treaty between, like, his tribe and the Cullens. And she's like, but the Cullens just moved there. And he's like, or moved back. So, yeah.
Something's weird.
Whoa. And then, of course, she's only like, I'm going to look into vampires. Not all that crazy wolf stuff that Jacob was talking about.
Right.
Yeah. Which is, bro, I can't wait for next week.
Yeah,
to, like,
that's gonna be fun.
Jacob's little turnover. See how that goes, because, whew, that's crazy out there.
All right.
Final thing.
Yes.
They're at prom. They literally get there. They see some people, and he's like, you want to head out? She's like, hell yeah. Totally understand. Let's be real. Girl's in a boot because she got her leg broke. She's wearing a dress that Alice gave her. And then she's like, why didn't you let me become a vampire? It would have been so easy. He's like, nah. And she's like, do it here right now. in front of like our entire classmates as I'm gonna like lay on the ground and scream in agony.
Right.
Love it. So funny.
Yeah, let's go ahead and out you completely as a vampire when you just bite my neck and I bleed all over the place here in the middle of prom.
Dude, for real. Oh my gosh. So funny.
And I think that's just the dumb teenager speaking. Like she just don't know any better. She's like, "Oh yeah, of course I want to be a vampire."
Dude,
And
for real.
like that's like the dumb teenager going, "Yeah, but I want to, but I'm not going to think about like how weird it would be for everyone else if you literally just rip my throat out right now."
Right? Like, what are repercussions of the
Right.
events that we are currently doing? Nothing. There's nothing going on. That head is empty. All she knows is, I want to be with you forever. Turn me to a vampire.
Yeah.
I just met you 2 weeks ago. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. I
All
mean, I
right.
could
Well,
continue to go on forever, but
I look forward to next year. Woo boy, next week when we talk about the next movie. There's so much like real quickly we didn't even go about. Like this movie
for
was
real.
long. This
Yeah,
movie was 2 hours long, which especially in 2008 for first time out of the gate movie like this for it being 2 hours, wild. Everything was great. We didn't even talk about the scene where they're in the town and these like 5 random dudes are like, "Hey, baby, where you going?" And I need to know if dudes actually do that because that was like really weird, even for like the movie to be like, "Oh, hey, yo, what up, baby? Let's follow you," and then, you know,
dude.
it was crazy.
Yeah, I
And
have
Edward
always been.
comes fast and furious around the corner. Just,
I'm so glad. I literally was like, yo, he's Tokyo drifting out here. And then he's like, I should go back and rip out their throats. And she's like, bro, you saved me. What do you mean you can hear their thoughts? What? Why can't you hear my thoughts? Is something wrong with me?
yeah, because that would be the exact teenage response too.
Yep,
It wouldn't be
100%.
like, "What are you even talking about reading thoughts?" Be like, "What? Am I weird? Am I the weird one?"
Is it me? Am I the problem? I don't think I'm the problem. I love it.
Jeez.
Fantastic movie. 10
Yeah.
out of 10. No notes.
I can't wait for next week. Okay, let's move on to our next segment where we talk about the things of the week that has made us happy. Raven, what has made you happy this past week?
So, I did something for the very first time, and it was phenomenal, and I can't wait to go again. Um, Last week, 2 weeks ago, yeah, 2 weeks ago, I hung out with one of my coworkers, and I had previously mentioned to Chris that I would like to go to a drag show, and my friend Heather was like, "Ooh, there's gonna be a fun drag show in 2 weeks here in Knoxville," and it was like cowboy and like glitter theme, and I was like, "I am in." And I texted Chris and I was like, "I don't know if you want to go. You said you would go to one with me. And so if you want to and you're off, you can come." So Chris went with us last night. And it was so great.
Really?
Oh my gosh, I had such a great time. Yes, it was so fun. It's definitely like, so I really enjoy spending time with my friend Heather, who is like one of my coworkers, but like she's very bubbly and out there and stuff. She's very much like the opposite of me, which I think is really nice because it helps me to like get out more and like to do things and whatever. And she's like, because she's the kind of person that she's like, I'll just go anywhere and I'll just start yapping to anyone. I don't care. And I'm like, if I go anywhere, it's like as fast as I possibly can. I'm in and out. Please don't talk to me. I'm so scared. Like that's how much of like an introvert and like social anxiety that I have. But going out with her, I'm like, "Oh, this is great. This is so fun." And it was just there were so many like good performers. They did some like great songs. Of course, we had some lovely Dolly Parton. We had Chapel Roan Pink Pony Club, which my girl doesn't even know who Chapel Roan is. And I was like, what? She's like the biggest star, like the biggest name in music right now.
Mm-hmm.
She's your favorite artist, of course.
Mm.
But it was just so fun. And I can't wait to go to my next drag show. But yeah,
That's awesome.
that definitely made me extremely happy this week. How about
That's
you, Mark?
that's super cool.
Yeah,
I've always wanted to go uh to a drag show like that.
yeah,
I've never been to one. I've been around drag drag queens before, and but I've never been to like a drag show, if that makes sense.
yeah. No, I
So
totally get it.
yeah, um, but yeah, that's something I'd like to do. But around here there was going to be one at some local bar around here, and everyone just got so upset.
Uh,
Even though it was going to be in a bar where no one was around, and was like, "What about the kids?" And it was like, "There's not going to be any kids
whose
in
kids
this
are out
bar
here
that
at
is
the bar at 9 p.m.? Go
right,
home.
right, baby. What you doing in the bar?" Um, so yeah, and I think they rescheduled it for another bar another time, and I just never could go. But no,
Yeah,
I'd love to go. I think it would be a blast. But yeah, that sounds super fun. My fun things this week that have made me happy. Me and the kids were going somewhere earlier this week, and we stopped at a stoplight, and there was this big old GMC Denali uh, dually truck. Had the big old tires on the back and the big old hubcaps. I mean, not big old fenders on the back of it. And out of nowhere, I can't remember if it was Alice or Amy goes, "Why does that truck got a big old booty on it?" And I'm like, "What?" And I look, and the fenders, because they stick out so wide, they're like, "This truck's got a big old butt on it." And Amy from the back seat goes, she's like, "Look at the yacht on that thing."
oh my God. Oh, that's
And
so good.
she's like, "That truck is the big booty Judy." And we laughed about that for so long, and I'll be damned if the next morning when I was taking them to school, it did not drive in front of us again. I
Oh,
was
God
like,
bless.
"What?" So yeah, we've seen it a couple times. I can't believe it. I think the writers are writing in like big booty Judy jokes for us, and it's just hilarious to us. So yes,
That's so good.
there's a truck that's got a yacht. Another thing that's made me happy was I wanted to make a new thing or just to make a new thing with my 3D printer because I didn't have any orders this week, and it was time for me to sing the songs that I wanted to sing, as it were. So I made a Georgia Bulldog light box, and I started it at night. I woke up the next morning. I popped it off the build plate, and I was like, "This looks so good. I'm gonna bring the front plate in to work and show everybody." Like I was so hyped up on it, like how good it looked. Like, "You guys have to see this," and everyone was pretty like, "Yeah, man, that's cool." That afternoon, I went and picked up some LED lights from Walmart, got home, popped the back plate off of it, put the lights on, put it together, turned it on, and it looked incredible. You couldn't tell me nothing. I was walking around with my chest poking out like a peacock. Dude, I was
Nice.
strutting. Out of all of the stuff that I've printed over the last 3-4 years, Iron Man helmets, Thor hammers, Mandalorian helmets, fidgets, gadgets, wizards, woozits. This was one of the top 3 things I think I've ever made. I'm on my shit right now. I was feeling
That's so
myself.
cool.
So yeah, I'm probably gonna have to set up some kind of page and be like, hey, this page is dedicated to just my 3D print stuff. So it was pretty cool. Another
Nice.
thing, because it's been a good fun filled week, even though like I've been pretty frustrated at work, like I mentioned at the top of the show. But I've been working for months with a friend of mine who has been wanting to start her own podcast slash video talk show type thing with her and her friend. And she was like, how do I do it? And I said, oh, no, it's pretty simple. You just do this. She's like, well, we want to film it. And I said, cool, I'll help you do that too. So yesterday, we went to an office space that one of the hosts has, and we set up a bunch of lights and we did a bunch of test footage and we recorded some stuff, just kind of like an episode 0, so I could kind of get the technical aspect down. They sat there and worked on the episodes that we're going to film, and yeah, we just kind of got a bunch of ducks in a row, and it was really, really, really cool. I really, really enjoyed it. It was a blast. I can't wait for the next couple weeks when we start doing some real filming and I can be like, hey, here's what it is. Go check it out. So, yeah.
Nice. That's so cool. Look at you. You're so fun and quirky and have good hobbies. What a cool dad.
You know, I like to think of myself as cool until like my kids come up and say something and I'm just like, I'm clearly not cool anymore.
Dude, it's okay. I hear some of the stuff that like kids say now and I'm like people are like, oh, that's Gen Z. And I'm like, technically I'm Gen Z. And I don't even know what the heck these kids are talking about.
Oh no, it's Gen Alpha now.
Bro. But even the Gen Z kids, I'm like, what? I don't know what this stuff means. Help.
It's weird.
Wild out here.
And what's so weird now is I try to make this concerted effort to be a part of the pop culture that my kids live in. You know, I try to pay attention to like who Chapel Roan is and why Roblox is cool and what a Skibbity Ohio Toilet Sigma Chad Alpha Grizzly Bear is. All of that nonsense, like, you know, and it's a concerted effort to kind of stay on top of that thing. But I think about when I was a kid, and I don't know if my dad was putting on or if he just was not, absolutely just did not care or want to be a part of it. And not saying that he ignored me or anything, but there was a lot of stuff that he was just like, I don't care, you know, not my circus, not my monkeys. I don't care about it. You do you. And it's weird to kind of think about because I couldn't even imagine like nowadays to be like, oh no, like I'm not gonna, I don't want to know anything. Like I feel like I have to know,
Right.
you know. And there's stuff that Alice will tell me is like, have you heard about this? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? And then Amy will be like, you haven't heard about this thing? And then they have to bring it up on the internet and show me. I'm like, how did I miss this? You know, but probably because my TikTok algorithm is like, you looked up politics once 2 years ago, and now that's all we're going to show you. Hope you like screwdrivers too, because we're going to show you 1,000 ads for that one screwdriver link you clicked on a year ago.
No. Absolutely not.
So
That's so funny.
all right, Raven, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on the socials?
I am on the Twitter at spooky_raven or on the Instagrams at That's So Raven Ellis. There's also this cute little podcast that you can find us at on whatever social media you're probably looking at. We're called Nerd for No Reason. Look that up. Follow it. Comment. Like and subscribe. I don't know. Do all the things. What about you, Mark? Where are you at?
You can find me at Turtles Do It on all major social media platforms. Make sure you like, rate, and review the podcast and come and talk to us and help us reach our search engine optimization or SEO so we can bring you better content like this. I got to email someone I don't know who, I guess, piece of junk mail or something, but they took a screenshot of our analytics that I don't know how they got, of like, oh, you only used one search engine optimization word in your post and we can help you do better. And I'm like, that's no. It's cool. This seems like a scam.
Right.
So, all right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I love you guys. Thanks for listening, and go and do something wonderful in the world today.
You guys go and ingest all the newest, coolest, latest medias, and we'll see you again next week at the Nerd for No Reason podcast. Stay tight, spider monkeys.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Nerd for No Reason podcast. You can find us on all major social media platforms at Nerd for No Reason. Our podcast music is Memories in 8-Bit by Deanna Joan, aka Fergie's Human. You can follow her on Twitter at Deanna Joan Music and check out her other social media links in the show notes of our podcast.